guys. Thanks for joining us on the Elation podcast today. We're doing a special episode at the Folk Alliance Music Conference. Today we are here with Clayton Shelvin. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Doing really good. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Good to have you here. We're excited to be at Folk Alliance. This is a great experience. This is our first time here, but just getting a little taste of how big and how much reach you guys have international is pretty awesome.
Yeah. The organization has been a big surprise for me. I kind of came in very blindly and have quickly figured out that, as far as the music industry, it is a place, like the place to be. It's one of the places to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. So explain a little bit about what you do on the board and where you're from, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I grew up in Louisiana. I'm here. I grew up in Lafayette, and then most of my adult life has been in New Orleans. In 2020, I moved out, took a big chance and moved out to San Francisco. And I've been running what was formerly Freight and Salvage. It's a 60-year-old music venue. We're now called The Freight, rebranded. But have been running that as executive director for the past few years. And because of that, I'm just constantly in the industry. Music is
absolutely
all we do. Music is all I do. We're doing about 300 shows a year.
Wow.
So organizations like Folk Alliance, it was kind of a natural fit for me to kind of get to know what was happening in the industry at the time. I came to the conference the last time it was in New Orleans.
Okay.
Which I was here in 2019 and took a chance. It was like, let's see what this is about. And then just kind of people took me in very quickly.
Right.
So from there, I've been involved and
creatives will do that. We'll kind of grab you.
It's like the misfits.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny.
Yeah.
What do you do on the board?
Yeah, so as a board member, this is my second year now on the board. I've been working with the finance committee, so it's kind of one of the areas that I've unwillingly and unwantedly have gotten really good at. I've been running an organization that we were in a major deficit a few years ago, and we figured out how to come back from a $1.2 million deficit to now breaking even.
Well, there you go.
So it's a new skill set, and I think they thought that I could be of help of helping to keep our finances for the organization together. So it's been fun. It's been a really good to I'm learning more and more. There's some really talented people on this board. And the range of what people are doing, right? From people who work at venues to publicists, the lawyers. It's cool to just be in a room full of people who are all kind of working towards the same thing.
Keep the circle going.
Yeah, you have to.
Absolutely. It's funny because finances is something that it's unsexy to learn, but I think it's one of the number one things that you should learn as an artist, right?
Yeah, it's super valuable, and it's the thing that everyone's terrified of, right?
Right.
I think as artists, I've worked with a lot of artists. When I worked at this organization in Lafayette, the ACA. It's a big shout out to those guys, the Acadiana Center for the Arts. It's kind of where I got my bearings. I was working as the talent buyer, booking all the artists, and then that town is just full of talented musicians. There's just it's an endless amount of musicians, and they come in, and I kind of became almost like a liaison for helping these guys to figure out the business side. They were all like, "You've got the talent, and what do we do with it?" So everything from creating press kits and websites, we were working, and I went to my boss and I was like, "I need some money to do this." And we started to bring these guys in and really teach them about the industry and how to start navigating it and how to make money. Because
right.
You get door deals and things. It's you got to learn that stuff. So,
absolutely, it's the only way to keep it going, right?
Yeah, the only way to keep it going, man, and protect yourself, right? Because there were venue owners and people out there who just kind of they'll take advantage of what you don't know.
No, 100%. That's in every industry, but it's specific a lot with creatives. I feel like you get taken advantage of.
Yeah, but people don't really understand the value of artists, right? So people devalue it, and unless the artist is able to advocate for themselves.
Correct.
And I think it's something so many artists learn later in their careers. It's almost too late. So it's kind of one of the things I always push with people. I'm like, just understand your value and make sure you put the price tag on it.
Well, and it's harder to do nowadays, especially because I feel like the industry itself has devalued the product.
Yeah, step back from the industry, right? It's the country we live in has devalued. There's a few international folks on our board, and we were in Canada last year for this conference, and to see how much the government values art and puts their money where their mouth is, right? They're all funded tremendously. And so I think it's for us, like we just haven't figured out. I think the solution was like create a nonprofit. People like fundraise to make the art happen. And that's how this country really, you think about museums and the symphonies, all those things that came first, they were all funded by just rich folks.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, you think the Vanderbilts and all those people that kind of built America. And so we haven't gotten away from that, right? We kind of just tend to let it be, let the community take care of the art piece.
Right.
So I think in turn, there's a lot of devaluing of art and musicians especially.
100%. Well, because as a state of, like, talk about Louisiana, we don't, in my opinion, we don't cultivate what we have very well. And it becomes more of a business foundation model that we lack here. You know, we don't have the label building to walk into. We don't have the publicists. We don't have the marketing guys. We don't have the radio stations. We don't have all that stuff that you can really walk into and truly blow yourself up, you know, or at least get the information that you could truly need and truly can use instead of just searching online and trying to figure it out.
Right.
You know, but I feel like these type of conferences really give more power back to the artist, you know, just by teaching.
Right.
You know, what do you think is one of the most important things that they learn here at the conference?
For me, I think, there's something about the value of community. I think so many artists believe that they're just in competition with everyone automatically. And I think there is something, what I've seen happen time after time here, that artists show up and then they build communities, and those folks end up becoming like their touring partners or their bandmates. I've seen groups form, right?
Right.
And I think it's a place that just kind of promotes how to build real community, that there's other people, there's hundreds and thousands of other people doing the same thing you're doing.
Right, you're not alone.
And some of those people who are doing it better that you can learn from, right? So I tell when I've brought a few people to the conference, a few artists, I've said like, go. And I just always say like, don't expect this to be the place where you're just gonna get booked into a bunch of venues, but expect it to be that kind of like initial point where you start to really build on community, you start to really build your career.
Foundation building.
Yeah, it is foundation building.
Right.
And that's, as you probably know, people forget, they sometimes tend to skip that piece.
Oh,
right?
100%.
Like Bill, it's like everyone wants to go straight to the, I've got talent, stardom, let's go.
Yep, you want to walk through the front door, but you got to build the foundation first.
Yeah,
you know.
Agreed.
But that's hard to do for creatives because the logistics part of business is not on that side of the brain. So that's where you need to meet people in a community so they can take care of roles like that because there's many more jobs in the industry than just an artist. Right. You know, I also think one of the things that ruins art nowadays is the artist thinking he has to do everything on his own.
Yeah, and it's hard, man, because it can be a very isolating thing because most people can't quantify art. And you think about I have a friend who the entire time we were doing our undergrad program, he was lying to his parents about his major. They thought he was like a pre-med major. He was majoring in music, and he somehow got away with this for 4 years. But I think about like how extreme that was, right? That because you just couldn't explain to your parents who had bigger expectations that you could actually be successful with music. This guy's on Broadway now, which is like my favorite story to tell.
That's awesome.
He's like killing it, you know, as a singer and a musician. But it's a hard thing, and I think it's very unique to our country, right? Again, where people just don't understand. And if you're not like Britney Spears or, you know, like the pop singer, then everyone's just kind of like, oh, you're a singer.
Oh, you're a singer.
Yeah,
it's the entrepreneur. You know, but so you're jobless basically, right? You know, it's kind of you know, it kind of sits in that same realm, you know. Yeah, and it sucks because I feel like artists can get overwhelmed and bogged into things that they shouldn't even be worrying about, you know, because the first thing you do is you go online, okay, what do I do to release a song? And the next thing you know, you're working twice as hard and not doing the work that you really should be doing. Yeah. You know, hiring the right people is something that they can learn. But conferences like this, again, bring that community together to where you can find people that can fill those roles.
Right. It helps you create your village, and I think that village is important. You know, I see one of my roles for myself as a venue manager, part of what I love to do now is kind of give people that perspective because it's very unique. I mean, we book we book hundreds of artists every year to come into our venue. We're making deals. We're doing it in a million different ways. So I feel like I have a good vantage point because I'm watching, we bring in some big A-list stars into this venue, and then we're also bringing in some kind of newcomers, people who are like on the rise.
Right.
So I've seen all the range, and what I hope my role can be here, right, is just being able to really talk to people about like, here's what I look for, right? When we're looking at artists, specifically artists that are kind of up and coming, these are the things that you should have in place, right?
Right.
The basics, and like your appearance in all the ways, right? Because I think that's a big piece of it. Online, in person.
Absolutely.
Kindness, right? I always say, I mean, that goes a million. I actually met a guy in the hallway earlier, and I'm just gonna remember him because he was like he's just kind. He was
Right.
an artist and just had a good conversation. And I think for people like me that book artists, we remember that's the stuff, at least I remember.
Right.
So I think there's some lessons for folks to learn in that space.
Oh, humility will get you a long way.
Yeah.
Shaking
yeah.
a hand.
Which is
and-
hard, right? It's hard
Listen,
because
shaking hands,
yeah.
looking people in the eye, and being humble will get you a long way. And I feel like it's a lost art,
Yeah.
Well, at the Freight,
yeah.
what's your favorite artist you've booked?
Oh man.
I know it was going to kill you on that one because of how many
Yeah.
you've seen. But what's your favorite one?
Favorite artist, let's go. Man, recently we just did this kind of, we've been expanding our programming a lot. At the Freight, our mission is around global roots music. So the presentation and just the awareness of music from around the world.
Right.
That's kind of rooted in culture. So we've actually expanded, into some hip hop music. We're doing kind of the nostalgia of hip hop.
Gotcha.
And we just did a show with Farside and Talib Kweli.
Uh-huh.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was magical because we had a combination of these like 65-year-old plus folks that come to like a lot of our like bluegrass and traditional shows mixed in with like the millennials, which I feel like it's like who that was targeted towards. And for me, it's all about the vibe. It's like the art and the music can be really good, but the people, if you walk into a room and you can feel that energy where people have a memorable experience, people are loving one another, they love the environment. Like that's what I'm always aiming to do. So that was a show, and one of the things I brag about, we have created this series. Every year we do a festival, and it's really to kind of unearth the story of an unheralded artist that people may have forgotten about or didn't know the full story. So D. Ford Bailey, who was the first Black artist of the Grand Ole Opry, he's a star who basically he was kind of kicked out of the Opry because there were a lot of these artists, these specifically white artists that were like, no, he's actually too good. He was becoming a star, and they kicked him out of the Opry. It was very silent. And there was never any acknowledgement, apology. This guy died as a shoe shiner. He was one of the most talented musicians.
Oh, man.
And kind of died in squalor. So we actually worked with his family to kind of tell his story. And we brought all these artists in. We brought Taj Mahal in. We brought a bunch of folks in to do a weekend of people who had been inspired by his legacy.
That's crazy.
And so we had like 7 or 8 artists that came through of the weekend. And because of that, the Grand Ole Opry and the Country Music Hall of Fame recently called us, and I went a few weeks ago to Nashville they actually did like a formal apology to him and then put all of his artifacts and his stuff into the museum.
Wow.
And the Hall of Fame. So for me, like that's type
awesome.
of work where we're moving things forward.
Yeah.
Feels good.
You're changing the story of a life of an artist. You're changing the whole family story, the dynamics, like that changes everything. That's what he fought for in a sense, right? But he never got to get the credit.
Never got to see it, man. Yeah, so it's cool. We got to work with his family. And his daughter, who's in her 90s, she did the whole thing. She traveled. She came and did the whole thing with us, and it was really powerful. And again, for me, I just always kind of live in that world of like what we do should be reshaping minds and reshaping movement. Like we're not curing diseases. We're not doing all these things, but I look at music specifically as a way that we're moving humanity forward.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, I think there's an untold amount of things that music can cure. So I think we are finding cures to something.
And that's true. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say that. But, but it is.
We're finding
it's
a cure
part
for
of it.
something. Yeah,
It's a part of it.
100%.
Yeah.
It would actually be a hell of a reality show with the Freight. Just watching 300 shows a year throughout one venue. The rotating cast of problems that happen.
Oh my God.
For the show. So I used to do live sound a lot, so I totally understand a lot of the dynamics of what you probably go through in a daily. But it's how many how many seats does it hold?
We're 500 seats.
Okay.
Pretty modest but beautiful venue. It was
Right.
we've been in this current building for about 15 years, but we own our space, which is beautiful. And we have a building with offices and classrooms, and we can do a lot. We have a second stage in that building.
Awesome.
So it's just constantly a space that's just full of creativity, and we try to get local artists. And even like when artists are coming passing through, we invite folks like if you want to do rehearsals here, if you want to like
Right.
just kind of hang out, right? So it's a host of all kinds of things that we've managed to really fill that building with, not only music but just like a lot of creativity and art.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Being from New Orleans, what do you think New Orleans brings to Folk Alliance?
Ooh, man, New Orleans is, I mean, in all the puns and metaphors, but it's just, there's some spice that brings, yesterday at our opening, kind of the award ceremony, I got very overwhelmed. And there's something about being from here where you're constantly proud of like how unique the culture is here, how unique the music, how unique the people are. And I teared up, man. They were singing like Liza Jane, and I was like, oh, why is this song getting me? But I think it's something about it's so unique. But I think for Folk Alliance, man, people, I mean, there's a reason why every time we do the conference here, it's the biggest. People love New Orleans. People are curious about this place. It is one of those places that's like, it can be so, like such a place that stands still in history, but also like years ahead of everyone in some areas when we talk about culture. And it's hard to keep people, I mean, in the conference itself, it's hard to keep people in the conference because everyone's like, did you eat here?
Right.
Did you go to this show last night?
Right.
So there's a lot to do, and it's a special place, man. I'm homesick all the time.
That's, no, and I hear you. And San Fran's a great spot, and it's got great creativity, and they've got great artists that come out of San Fran, and I think it's a great, it reminds me a lot of New Orleans when I'm actually in San Francisco.
There's some aspects of it.
100%. The good food, and I feel like the people are nicer there than they are in LA.
Yeah.
You know, like
absolutely.
you know, you get a little bit.
SF is just a little more tame. Right? It's a tamer version of New Orleans, as I always tell people.
Yeah.
This place is unpredictable, and I love it. I think my personality.
We're the pirate city. We are the pirate. It's official pirate city. I mean, that's where they used to come up.
A little bit of chaos, a little bit of
100%. You know. So that's why we're the Big Easy, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I love this type of music conference because I feel like it brings artists that don't normally get to perform in New Orleans in the streets.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like it's going to bring a whole different vibe, and it's always going to be its own new vibe. You know, because it's new people, new eclectic international artists, and I feel like New Orleanians are going to get the privilege of actually seeing artists that they don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think there's something about, you know, the name of the organization, Folk Alliance, can throw people off. It threw me off.
Yeah, it threw me off a little bit.
Yeah,
you
because
know?
you're kind of like, what the hell?
How do you define folk?
Right.
You know?
And I think this city actually exemplifies folk, because folk music really is like music that's rooted in who people are, like where people come from, the culture. So it's easy to identify that over like internationally, right? You can think about like African music, you think about Irish music, those things where there's distinct sounds, distinct instruments. And in America, I mean, New Orleans is one of the only places really that when you hear it, you're like, oh, we know exactly where that's from, right?
Absolutely.
And you can think about like some of like the hip hop in New York and other, but there is something very special about the sound here.
Yep.
That's very recognizable.
I don't think AI can replicate bounce music.
No.
I don't think it's.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
I'm gonna think that it can't do it. We're just gonna stay there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on AI, real quick, with music? Do you have any?
I live in Silicon Valley, man. I mean, I live in the heart. I'm seeing all my friends work for AI companies, and for me, I'm like, it's a powerful tool. It's a beautiful, powerful. I think that we will be able to do some really amazing things. I'm seeing it already, right? There's some things happening. When it comes to music, I mean, it's a hard one because we want to believe that we are the only one. Like, this has to be rooted in us. But I'm kind of like, not popular opinion. I'm curious. I'm curious of like what else can we do that maybe hasn't been done yet. I think everyone looks at we've been looking at those YouTube videos that all these like AI version of Thong Song. I saw that one. It was like it was like the classical version of Thong Song, and I'm thinking like, but
Not a very creative way to use it.
Not a very creative way to use it,
Yeah.
but what I think what it's doing, it's putting music back into our minds in a very different way, and what it's helped me to see, it's like even a music that's like this hip hop song, this like rap song, right, can be as wonderful translated into like a classical song, right?
Right.
Or like there was something I saw they turned into a reggae song. It was a Justin Timberlake song, and I was like, that slaps.
Right,
Like, that's
right.
So there's something, technology can do some of these things to kind of put it back in, but I truly believe like no one can replicate the stuff that we do, right? And I hope that we stay true to that and don't get lost as a people, and that turns out to be the way we're creating music.
As long as your music is real emotion, you shouldn't be lost in the AI world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, man. And we're seeing artists, I think why some of these young artists that are coming out, I think why I was thinking about these, like all the British artists that like when it was Adele and Amy Winehouse and Sam Smith, the success of all those artists was about, they were all the kind of the first artists in our time that were singing about the actual things that were happening to them, right? Like, and that's happened in the past, but not in the way that these artists. You think about Adele's albums, like that was all like her heartbreak poured into not just a song, but an entire album. And now everyone's kind of replicating that. Like, you look at Taylor Swift, you look at all these folks who are like, I can tell an entire story about something that happened in my life through 12 songs, right? And I think that feels like it's cool, it's special. And I hope that's the direction we kind of stay in, because we need those stories. We want to hear. We want to hear what you think, not
we
what
used to listen to the story on the album. But nowadays, listening to the whole album is almost non-existent.
I know, and I read this thing about how Beyonce, which I hadn't thought about it, but Beyonce, when she released Lemonade, it was kind of like the first artist in our time that did it, where it forced us to listen to an entire album. And then
which is why nobody liked it.
Yeah.
Which is why nobody liked it. And I'm saying that the Sandcastles was made in my studio in LA.
No way.
Yeah, Vincent Barry, the writer, is a very good friend of mine. He was living in my studio at the time. I watched the whole thing on front of the piano.
That's cool.
Amazing song, amazing writer, amazing moment. But that album didn't go over very well. Right. Because they forced you to pay attention to something.
Yeah, and then we have to learn how to do it again, right? So now I think it's like we're all doing it, because now I'm listening to, I was just jamming out to A$AP Rocky's new album, which is so off from, my music stuff's all over the place.
As it should be.
But now I'm like, it's habit now, like listen to the entire album, because like the artists are telling stories and you don't want to miss out on a part of the story. Right.
No, 100%. I agree. I do believe we're getting back to that. We're getting out of the single phase.
Yeah.
And hopefully that brings some good monetary moments back into the game. I think, what would be your favorite music memory in here in New Orleans?
Oh man. So I worked at Le Petit Theater for a while, and when the Brennans bought half of the building, they started presenting music. And we did some wild things in that little theater, man, because the theater is meant for like stage plays and musicals. But there was one night they were like, we're just bringing Lenny Kravitz in to do a private show. They're like, what? And I spent like a whole evening with this guy and lost my mind, man. Out of that, when the BP oil spill happened, they did this benefit concert that I was a part of on the production team. And it was like Ani DeFranco, John Legend, Lenny Kravitz, and there was a bunch of other artists in there, right? That for me goes down as kind of the craziest musical thing I've ever experienced, because I was in the room watching these guys create the show. Right. And then someone like John Legend turned to me at one point and said, "Hey, what does this sound like to you?" And I'm like, "What?" So I always go back to, I a lot of times in my life I look at my career and I'm like, how the hell did I end up here? Right. That was when it started. That's when I'm like, all the imposter syndrome, when you're like, that's awesome. But only in New Orleans, man, because I'm like, out of that tragedy, that oil spill, there were all these beautiful moments. And I think the same thing came out of Katrina, where you think about the stuff I remember about the storm and all these things was the music that came from it. Right. Where people were using the music to heal and to move the community forward. It's special.
Well, that's a great story, because I feel like, when you think of guys like John Legend, you think of some, musical genius, crazy, in his head, gonna do his own thing. And then you don't realize that if you're in the room, there's a reason you're in the room, and most of the time they're going to ask you questions.
Yeah.
Because I learned a lot of those artists are actually very insecure.
Insecure, yeah.
You know, and so they have to have that recognition in the room of people that they trust, and then they can move forward.
Yeah.
So having those humble moments and telling that story is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's one of the stories I use a lot where it's like, you never know, and you also in this industry you have to be ready because those moments will happen.
Absolutely.
And you have to be ready to show up, right?
Right.
It was a simple thing he asked, but I think how much impact that had on me to help me recognize that, oh, I'm in this.
Right.
I'm not just an outsider. I'm actually a part of this thing.
Absolutely.
That can seem very far away. You know, when
100%.
you grow up and you're like, it seems like this thing that happens in LA, it stays there. You're just an observer. But to be in it is really, it's cool.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like when those moments happen here in New Orleans, they're more organic and more humble than they are in other places.
All the time, man. Yeah.
Because when it happens in other bigger cities, I feel like things are a little more arms length away type of situation.
And organized.
And organized, right? Which is maybe why it happens organically here, because there's nothing organized, right?
Yeah. I think about Stevie Wonder as that year with Jazz Fest where he did the impromptu concert. It was raining.
Right.
And he did the concert at
what was it?
right here, the jazz. What was this?
At
the hotel. Yeah,
I forget.
It's across the street.
At the Omni, wasn't it?
What?
In the Rib Room, wasn't it? At the Rib Room.
One of those rooms. But I was working. I used to work at the Carousel Bar, and it was this was before really everyone was tweeting about stuff, and someone just ran and said, Stevie Wonder's about to perform. And we all just left the restaurant. We all just left the bar. We're going.
We're going, yeah.
And yeah, man. So stuff like that only happens. And it happens in other places, but not like it does here.
Yeah.
And I think that's I look at all these memories I have of New Orleans, now kind of, 6 years removed from it. And so much of it involves these random things that kind of happen that are very unique to New Orleans. That probably wouldn't happen anywhere else. I keep going back to Lenny Kravitz, but I used to see that guy. I think he had a house on Bayou St. John.
Oh yeah.
I used to see him jogging sometimes, and we're like, what is happening? I've had Angela Bassett came into our theater once.
That's
and was
awesome.
just I'm filming a movie. I just need a place to break. So it's accessible. I think everything's accessible.
Right.
And it's cool that so many of these folks that have made it really big in their careers feel safe and comfortable. To just drop it here, right?
Right, 100%. I also feel like it goes back to the whole, culture thing of New Orleans, where we just haven't found that corporate structure in our head, and there's a beauty in that.
Yeah.
And just as simple as if you shoot a music video down here, you could pop in pretty much anywhere and ask them to use a piece of the store or be a part of it or whatever, and most of the time they're enjoying it and love to be a part of it.
Yeah.
You do that in LA, where's your permit?
Right.
How much you gonna pay me? It's just a different corporate structure, and I feel like the beauty is in how we weave away from that stuff.
And there's some real loyalty here that you don't see in other places.
Right.
I was just talking to Reed Martin, who is Big Frida and Tank's manager,
right.
And he's an old friend, and I watched him kind of build his company. But the thing, Big Frida, who at this point could have just gone and been with anyone else, right?
Right.
Gone with some big LA executive, has been committed to this guy for so long, and they've had this relationship. And I'm it is really special because you see that a lot here with musicians in New Orleans, that they kind of find their people here, and then they really align and stay throughout their whole careers. And some people can look at that as oh, you probably could have done some other things, but no one knows you like someone from New Orleans, right?
100%.
If you're a New Orleans artist, you have to have people around you that are going to take care of you like a New Orleans artist.
Absolutely. Listen, you can't pay for comfortability, right? And if you feel comfortable with somebody, you trust somebody, those are two of the biggest things in this industry that are also almost unobtainable.
Yep.
And so once you find someone that you can truly dive in with that on that level, it's hard to let that go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do feel like we have a lot of that in our culture. We are just willing to help organically.
Yep.
So if it fits a mold and it fits a way that we all get paid and it's just a beautiful thing. It'll keep going forever.
Forever.
Because it's genuine in us. And you know that it's a genuine part of us. We moved to LA for the first time, and I go sit to watch a Saints game. I was single at the time. I go sit by myself at the Saints game to watch at some sports bar, and I'm trying to talk to people, and I'm getting looked at like the weird uncle.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what are you like?
Yeah, you are the weird. You
I am
become
the weird uncle.
Yeah,
I am the weird uncle at that point. Like, stop talking at Christmas dinner. You know, that's just not in us down here.
Yeah.
You know, we can sit there and talk, and next thing you know, we're there in our wedding. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you meet. I tell people this all the time. You meet best friends everywhere. On the flight I flew into Lafayette, and from San Francisco you fly to Dallas. There's no one talks, right? I got on the flight to Lafayette. It was so rambunctious. And people were just like, I talked to 4 different people, like, wait, who are you related to? You look familiar. And I'm thinking, like, man, there is nothing like you know where you're going.
Right.
On that flight, if I got on the flight, I didn't know what the destination was, I could guess it.
Right.
Just by how people are, man. And it's the thing I probably miss the most. Of like walking into spaces and you always walk out with like a new friend,
right.
a new buddy.
Right.
And that's why this conference being here is so cool, because it promotes that energy. I think it takes a barrier that a lot of artists have when they come in and they're terrified to interact. And people kind of feel that spirit of, it's like generosity, there's kinship, all that stuff just kind of naturally exists here. And I think it permeates into people.
Yeah, the culture understands creatives here, but the corporate structure does not. If we can just get some help by the state and some other things, and I will never give up on Reed about becoming our own Grammy chapter. So Memphis, I'm sorry, no reason for it.
I love that.
We should be separate. You know,
advocate, man. We need more people.
We need, and maybe when the Grammy takes it serious, maybe the state will. You know, but we got to start somewhere.
Starting somewhere. That's how it all started.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Somebody looked into the camera and said it.
Yeah. Well, thankfully we're not live, so maybe we'll edit that one out. We'll see. But anyway, well, listen, it was great having you today, and great conversation. And thank you guys at Folk Alliance for everything you do and everything you do for the culture and the music industry, and letting these artists learn some valuable information that they can actually use in reality.
Yeah.
It's a pretty hard task nowadays, but I think you guys do it very well.
Thank you, man. Thanks for the work you're doing. I mean, we need people to keep teaching and educating. So I think it's really important what you're trying to do on this platform. So
awesome.
And we'll be back here a lot. I mean, the Folk
You're
Alliance
always coming back here.
We'll be back in New Orleans a few more times in the next few years. I'm really excited about that relationship that the organization is building with the city.
Absolutely, awesome. Yeah. Well, we can't wait to have you back. Good. So, and thank you guys for checking us out. If you'd like to see more, please like and subscribe to Elation Podcast, and we'll see you next time. Peace.